You know, it's been a while since a new Sonic game released. The past few years has been really light in terms of new software. I mean, the last one we got was Sonic at the Olympic Games for mobile devices last year. It was a really rough year. And before that, we got Team Sonic Racing, and Mario and Sonic at the 2020 Tokyo Olympic Games, whose name didn't really age that well. The last main series we've gotten was Sonic Mania and Forces in 2017, but that was 4 years ago. Suffice to say, it's been quite a wait for a new Sonic game, and we still had to wait even longer, most likely in 2022. However, earlier this year, Sega has announced a remaster of a beloved classic, Sonic Colors. We now have Sonic Colors Ultimate. Even though it's technically not a new game, it was still an exciting announcement. They added some enhanced visuals, additional game modes, and features at a fairly cheap price to boot. For over a decade, this was stuck on the Nintendo Wii with a separate handheld counterpart on the DS. But now it's easily available in every modern platform, except for Steam. Sorry guys. This game was a refreshing revitalization for the series. The entire game was consisted of the daytime gameplay from Sonic Unleashed. There was new gameplay mechanics with the introduction of the Wisps, and we even had a whole new cast of voice actors with the exception of Mike Pollock, who retained his role as Dr. Eggman. I mean, yeah, they technically started in Sonic Freeriders, but this is Sonic Freeriders, so it doesn't count. The game was met with tons of praise, but I feel like people's perspective of this game has changed over the years. I would say this game marked a downward spiral in terms of storytelling. Gone were the days of mature themes and compelling storytelling compared to games such as Black Knight and Sonic Unleashed. They started to shift to a more lighthearted tone to appeal to a more younger audience. Personally to me, I don't mind it too much. I don't really play Sonic for the story, but I agree that this is definitely a downgrade. In terms of gameplay though, I did find it pretty solid, but the over-reliance of 2D sections in a modern Sonic game, the simplistic level design, the shorter length, and mixed reception with the Wisps may have impacted people's opinion on the game. But overall, I feel, and many did feel, that this game was a step in the right direction, despite its shortcomings. So, if the game is so great, what took them so long to re-release it? Oh well, now it's here. Let's see what's changed and find out if it still holds up today. This is Sonic Colors Ultimate. Just a reminder, this game is a remaster, so the content here very closely resembles the original game with slight differences. They have the same levels, story, and gameplay mechanics, so if you played the original game and don't feel like double dipping, then perhaps this title isn't for you unless the enhancements sound appealing. But before I get into what's different in this remaster, let's go over what was present in the base game. Let's start with the story. I do like the change of pace here. As soon as you start the game, you'll immediately jump into the game, just like the classics. You get no context or reason why you're here at first, you're just exploring this interstellar amusement park. After we explore the tropical resort, we find that Eggman set up this amusement park as a way to make amends, and turn in over a new leaf over his past transgressions. I mean, we all know he's bullshitting, but let's play along anyway. We slowly find out that this park is made up of planet-sized attractions inhabited by these colorful creatures called Wisps. They were captured by Eggman and the newly introduced Orbot and Cubot at the time. They first debuted in this game, but we have seen a variation of Orbot in Sonic Unleashed. Cubot, on the other hand, has his voice changed throughout the game due to his malfunctioned voice box. Honestly, as comic relief characters, I've always found this duo my favorite, and I'm glad they stuck around over the past decade. I've always preferred them over others such as Scratch and Grounder. We later meet a Wisp named Yacker, and he informs us about the enslavement of their species by Dr. Eggman, and now it's up to Sonic to go save them from the clutches of the Doctor, and prevent him from using their Hyper Go-On powers to create a mind control laser from taking over Sonic's planet. And that's pretty much it. It has about as much complexity as the classic Sonic games. I mean, that's not a terrible thing if you only care about gameplay or prefer simplistic storylines, but if you're looking for a more compelling narrative, you'll probably won't find one here. And now comes to one of this game's most controversial issues, the writing. When this game released, they hired some new writers, the same people who wrote Happy Tree Friends. Unfortunately, most of it comes off a bit
baldy nose hair!
Childish, to put it lightly. It can be really cheesy. I mean, I like cheese as much as the next guy. My favorite Sonic game is Heroes, for Pete's sake, but I feel like this game took it a bit too far. I honestly never really laughed at any of these jokes. I feel like I cringed at them more than anything. I mean, I get it, they want to appeal to kids, but honestly, kids deserve better than this. Who doesn't like a good narrative? There are plenty of games or media targeted for kids that can have really captivating plots or smart writing, but that's their decision, I guess. Stories like this has been really commonplace in modern Sonic games as of late. You'd think they would take themselves more seriously in critical situations. Like in Sonic Forces, for example, you mean to tell me that Sonic has been tortured for 6 months in captivity, yet he still acts like it's nothing. The characterization feels all over the place. It just feels like they're talking down to their audience. I'm not saying it needs to be some Oscar-winning performance or anything. I just wanted more effort put into it. That's not to say all the writing is terrible though. I love Eggman's announcements that can be heard throughout the levels. The humor is so spot on, and it perfectly matches Eggman's character. Unfortunately, you can barely hear them due to how fast you're blazing through the levels and how quiet it is. Overall, I feel like the writing is a step down from previous installments, and I hope that future titles can rectify this and bring more compelling stories. But enough of that. We mostly play Sonic for the gameplay, so let's get into it. As I mentioned before, this game plays almost exactly like the daytime levels in Sonic Unleashed. You can still boost, stomp, slide, and drift in certain areas too, but there are a few altercations. The main mechanic that sets this game apart at the time was the Wisps. They are used as power-ups to help you with exploration. You gain boost energy from white wisps, shoot yourself as a laser, drilling through obstacles, launching as a rocket, create platforms, hover across the skies, scaling walls, and eating everything in your path, like some demented Pac-Man. Opinions on these creatures are pretty divisive, but personally I enjoyed them. For the most part, they are entirely optional, except for a few occasions. I like how they help encourage you to revisit levels to look for collectibles and alternate paths. Speaking of collectibles, this game marked the introduction of Red Star Rings. There are 5 in each level, which can be used to unlock more levels in Gameland. If you manage to beat them, you're able to collect Chaos Emeralds. I actually really like these levels. You can team up with a buddy too, and some of its levels are actually recreated from Sonic 1. And lo and behold, you can actually unlock Super Sonic as well. Unlike previous games, there is no Super Sonic for the final battle. You can actually play as him in the levels. This is actually the first time you can actually play as him in 3D through normal gameplay. You can't use any wisps while he's active though. Overall, I found the original game really amazing and considered it in my top 10 or even top 5 for the longest time. The wonderful music, unique colorful environments, and addicting gameplay has made me replay this game time and time again. It was such a shame that it was stuck on the Wii. But hey, now they released Sonic Colors Ultimate over 10 years later. Better late than never, I guess. I hope I don't regret these words. Before release, this remaster has met with tons of controversy over how it looked. People complained about the bloom and lighting in the game. At the time, I thought it was an over-exaggeration. I mean, sure, it doesn't always match the original style, but it still didn't release yet, so I gave them the benefit of the doubt. I was sure they would fix it by the time it released. But to be fair, people's worries were warranted. Sega has had a rough history with re-releases in the past. I mean, look how different Sonic Adventure DX looked compared to the original. Even though I didn't have a problem with this compared to a lot of others, I can understand their skepticism. I just found it unfair that people would judge the game before it's even actually released. And then it released. And ooh boy, shit went insane. Many digital deluxe adopters reported many graphical and audio problems, especially in the Switch version. There were crazy bugs like this going around. There was even debate on the legitimacy of these issues. Some of the users who posted these were confirmed to be using a Switch emulator. However, there were some users who purchased legitimate copies that have encountered issues like these as well. This whole fiasco was a mess. And that's not to say the other platforms didn't have their own share of issues as well. There were also reports of PlayStation users getting their save data corrupted, and many audio and crashing issues were present in every platform as well. Thankfully, at the time of recording for this video, they have confirmed to be working on a patch to fix these issues. But man, I just miss the days of releasing a finished product at launch. Developers these days just like to rush out their products out the door and finish it later. But regardless, what do I think of the game? What was my experience? Well, I was pretty lucky, honestly. I didn't encounter many serious bugs or issues. The most that I've dealt with is audio issues where the sound effects were being way too loud and the music being way too quiet, or even cut off in some instances, like in this cutscene right here.
No! This can't be happening! It's backfiring! Impossible! How? Ta-da!
But other than that, it was a smooth experience through and through. This remaster has truly the same story as you remember it. They didn't add any new cutscenes or even enhance them very much, or at all. At least that's what it feels like. It looks pretty gross compared to the rest of the game. It's disappointing that they didn't even reanimate any of these scenes. It looks really jarring because of the low quality. They did the bare minimum. It just feels like all they did was just slightly upscale these cutscenes and use a different font. It doesn't look great at all at the TV or monitor. They did, however, add a few changes to the gameplay. 1-ups are now a thing of the past. You have unlimited lives, but they added a new feature called the Tails save. You can collect these Tails icons scattered throughout the levels or at the results screen. Whenever you fall into a bottomless pit, Tails will save you from your death and return you back to a safe location. You cannot turn this feature off, but honestly, I didn't mind it so much. The game is not hard to begin with, so personally, I found the 1-ups pretty useless anyway. However, they should at least have the option to turn it off for those who don't like this feature. I like how Crash 4 did it. They gave you the option to play the game with or without the life system from the originals. The Homing attack also works differently here. If you time it carefully, you can use a perfect Homing attack. Do it successfully and you'll gain more boost energy. Neat idea, I just wish it wasn't so loud whenever you use it. You're also able to collect these park tokens. You can use these tokens to unlock cosmetics for your gloves, shoes, boost, aura, and icon. If you manage to buy the digital deluxe version or the DLC, you can even get customizations related to the Sonic movie. They also added a few new voice lines for Tails complimenting you,
I want that.
and Sonic after defeating certain bosses. The game also added the new Jade Wisp from Team Sonic Racing. Honestly, for a while, I forgot this was a thing. Even the game doesn't acknowledge it very much. It's not even at the title screen with the rest of the wisps. With this wisp, you can actually phase through obstacles like a ghost.
He's a phantom.
They even made some slight level design changes to allow you to use this power-up. It really threw me off since they changed the location of certain red star rings. It feels a bit out of place, but honestly not a bad addition. There's also remixed music here as well, but it's kind of hit and miss in my opinion. There's some arrangements that are really enjoyed, but there are others that feels like a downgrade over the original track. Most of the music from the original soundtrack is present here, but the first 3 acts in a given world are entirely remixed, while the next 3 remain the same. Though if you want to access the Planet Wisp remixes, you'll have to buy the DLC or Digital Deluxe Edition. There is no option to revert back to the original soundtrack, which is a shame because I feel like certain remix themes don't hit the same highs as the originals did. And now for the last main addition, Metal Sonic. If you collect at least 15 red star rings in any given world, you'll have the opportunity to race him in certain levels. And my goodness, he can be so difficult. It feels like you need to be perfect sometimes. If you manage to defeat him, then you'll get rewards such as getting many park tokens or unlocking unique cosmetics. There's a few quality of life changes here and there. The results screen now shows you an on-screen timer. Getting a 100 ring coin can grant you invincibility for a short time. And if you do this right here, you'll get sent to Minecraft. Huh. These glitches are getting really insane. Now let me make this clear, just because I haven't encountered many issues during my playthrough doesn't mean you will too. They can be really inconsistent. Even though my experience was fairly positive, I did have a few gripes with this remaster. Before this game was released, I saw these Tails icons. I thought, wow, he was gonna be playable? But in the end, it never came to be. This was such a tease. It would have been so cool if you could play as him, but now he's relegated to an assist feature. Really disappointing if you ask me. I mentioned it already, but I really don't like how these cutscenes look. I wish they actually recreated them or put some more effort into them. They could have added some new levels and content, or maybe even recreate some of the content from the DS game, but I guess that's just too much to ask. And who thought it was a good idea that you can't even rewatch these cutscenes in full screen in the options menu? Sure, these cutscenes look terrible, but why have them in such a small window? And speaking of the options menu, I hate how delayed it feels. Especially if you're trying to customize Sonic. It feels so slow and delayed regardless of what platform you play the game on. And finally, like I said earlier, the audio is just a mess. It doesn't feel balanced whatsoever and it just ruins the immersion. Not to mention that the credits go silent after a while. This isn't fun. This is around half an hour long. Thank goodness you can skip it. But these nitpicks don't compare to the glitches that people have encountered on the Switch version. So I wanted to try it for myself. What's so unique about this version, and is it really as buggy as people make it out to be? Well, this version runs at 30 frames per second and runs at a lower resolution compared to every other platform. But personally, I don't mind it so much. I'm used to it at this point. I don't find it unplayable or anything. I actually enjoy playing the game on handheld mode, but you'll definitely get a better experience on the other platforms. Though the one thing that really annoyed me is that the fact that the loading screens here are much longer. I mean, look at this. Even the Wii version loaded much faster than this. In terms of glitches though, I feel like I ended up being lucky. It's not as buggy as I thought it would be. I honestly didn't encounter any game-breaking bugs. No seizure-inducing moments, no crashing or corrupted save data. The worst that I've encountered is just the occasional pop-in, frame rate drops, and similar audio issues. But it really shouldn't have these issues to begin with. It's a remaster of a Wii game, a game that is over 10 years old at this point. Say what you want about Skyward Sword HD, but at least that game looks and runs much better than its original release. It doesn't feel like a lazy port. They could have easily made an already amazing game even better, but somehow they messed it up. So would I recommend this remaster? Well, it depends. If you're interested in the Switch version, I'd advise you should wait for a patch. I'd say the same goes for every other version as well, but their issues aren't nearly as apparent. Even though I've had a smooth experience for the most part, that's not to say you will too, your results may vary. But overall, despite my criticisms, I still think this is a great game. I enjoyed my time replaying it again. The game still looks amazing to this day, the worlds feel so fresh and unique, and I feel this is definitely still one of the better Sonic games out there. Sure, it's not as long or as enticing as Sonic games like Unleashed or the adventure titles, or even Heroes in my opinion, but it's still really fun, plain and simple. I hope in the near future, this game will receive a patch to help show that it's the definitive edition. I just hope the reception from this game doesn't impact the possibility for future re-releases. There's just so much potential for remakes or remasters for many games in Sonic's library. But please, Sega, just take your time and don't rush. You don't want to drag down Sonic's reputation even further. I don't know how much this franchise can take. You know what? Maybe the main cause of all these issues is that this game has too much color. Let's just get rid of all the color. Time meter, if you would, please. Ah, much better.